would it be possible to put something in the, I don't know how often the Rollinsford newsletter comes out, but a little article saying that, recommending we're looking for volunteers. It's a great opportunity to support the city and town.
The newsletter comes out every time the tax bills come out. So that's just twice a year, but it did just go out, and it was in there. There was something about the rec committee needing volunteers in the newsletter. And before that, we did put something in out via the email list that goes on the website. So we've done that, but what I thought might be helpful is maybe a plea to the Camp Raleigh Facebook page, because that really would hit the parents who at least have used that program in the past. That's not necessarily your whole market, because I think there's a lot of opportunity to offer recreation to other people besides, people who appreciated that program. But and I'm happy to put it out again, on the email blast as well.
I don't think it can hurt. What do you, Mike? You in agreement?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think as many ways as we can get it out there as possible. My only other thought was I think we really, if each of us can try and target somebody individually as well to reach out and ask them, somebody that may have programming in mind. I met some folks that were interested in additional programming with the indoor soccer program, and they were talking about other opportunities that we might be able to explore. So I'm going to reach out to a few of them and see if they'd be willing to come in and join the team here. And I don't know if anyone might want to reach out to Kelly Beck and just see if she wanted to come back at some point. I'm sure she was feeling a little bit of the frustration we all were when she jumped there. I can't say I blame her. But she was just getting spun up, and if we have more people, it's not like you have to be at every single meeting. And really, our goal is if we get all this work done ahead of time, it's once a month instead of the twice a month like we were doing before. Is anybody friendly with Kelly, or
we're talking?
I think Kelly Beck. It was at the time when everything was shutting down, and I wonder. I think it's absolutely worth reaching out to her. I just want to point out that it might still be difficult for people to participate in things if they have childcare needs, or if they have people at home who are working from home and trying to do a meeting while another parent is working or something, so that even though the kids are home, nobody's really in charge of caring for them. So I don't mean to suggest that that's necessarily her situation, but I just I want to be cautiously optimistic. I think it's really important to recruit people, and I hope we can get more people, absolutely. But until the child care situation settles down, people might still be having problems related to that.
Well, that's good insight, and that's a fair point.
And I would just want to make a clarification that there is no Camp Raleigh page for 2020. The last Camp Raleigh page was for 2019, and that hasn't been active since last year. But Kelly Anderson created a Rollinsford Rec page, which is open to anybody to join. So if we have Facebook friends that are local or from surrounding communities that might be interested in what we're offering, we can solicit them to come there, and we can post there too.
Okay.
And that was one of the things I didn't actually put on the agenda. I thought of it after I sent it out last night. You lead right into how we manage the our web pages. I was briefly looking at the web page that's linked off the town's website, and it's got a lot of old data on there as far as who's actually on the committee and what we're working on. I know about that in February or March when we were trying to assign people tasks, as far as Facebook and the town website. So just something that, we can talk about when we get down to the job descriptions of who's going to jump in to help manage that.
Okay.
But no, it's a great point, Paul, and definitely, anything that we can, think of collectively as a group to get folks involved would be great.
Agreed.
All right, so my next topic on the agenda there, again, this is just a structure that I came up with here, thinking about, what are our big things that we're working on. So I wanted to, give a chance for the folks to talk about what, the big projects, the 4 of them as I see right now, well, really from the select board, then Camp Raleigh, senior programming, and the winter sports programming. So really 3 big projects. So really get direction from the select board if there is any, and then roll into our leads for those, which we don't really have any right now. And that was something I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Paul, you have anything to share with us from the select board's point of view?
The only thing I have to share about Camp Raleigh is obviously we do have a description now for the rec director, and we still haven't determined a date when we're going to post that. We've discussed it in the select board, but there's no firm date yet. Other than that, I'm sorry, could you say the other 2 things besides Camp Raleigh?
Well, no, really, we're just looking for any guidance that you have from the select board. And the other 2 things that we primarily, since I've been on the committee, were the senior programming. That was the second thing outside of Camp Raleigh.
Yeah.
And winter sports programming. It was basketball. It started out with basketball last year, and then we evolved it into indoor soccer.
Okay. I really don't have any insight on the senior program. Caroline, can you?
I can speak to that.
Okay. I'm curious too, but I think it's great.
So we ran 3 of them in
3 of what? If you could back up, Celia, because
okay.
he doesn't know what you did.
So last fall into the winter, we did 3 senior coffee hours at the library with coffee and donuts and conversation, compiled a list of what seniors in the community would like to see and ideal times, places, and so forth. We decided that it was difficult for seniors to get out due to the weather in the winter months. And a lot of them don't like to drive in bad weather.
Yep.
So we went on hiatus, and we were hoping to come back in April or May, but with COVID, we haven't been able to reschedule anything. And the most we had was 10 to 12 people at our November meeting. And then we had 4 to 6 at the October and the December meetings. And there was a core group of people that came, and it was really nice. One of the women who came had been taking care of her husband for the last 2 years and hadn't made many community connections. And this was her first real community peer connection for Rollins.
I think that's fantastic. And I think it's great that we, again, I'm getting new to this. I'm very new to it. So, being able to include the elderly and our senior residents, I think is great. So, and then winter sports, I think they're going to go on hopefully they're going to go on as normal when fall comes around.
And that's one thing, we're trying to figure out too is, what fall sports are going to be out there for the local communities, not just ours, but, I know soccer's a big one, football, all kinds of different stuff for the fall if they're actually going to be able to do those. What they did before was Kelly Anderson was a huge advocate of the basketball program for the kids.
Yep.
And I guess, the turnout wasn't there at the start of it last year for the folks she was targeting. So we transitioned over to the younger kids, K through 3rd grade for indoor soccer because the space was already available to the rec committee on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. So we just used one of those for soccer, and then the other one ended up being an actual adult indoor or adult open gym for basketball.
No, neat. Yeah, I can't see why those programs can't go on as long as COVID goes hopefully away. I know they're talking about a second wave, so I guess we'll have to see how summer goes.
Yeah, and I think really my big goal for those today was just to kind of figure out who's going to be the lead for those programs. I don't know if anyone wants to jump on one of those. I know, Celia, you're passionate about the senior programming.
Yeah, I'll stay with the senior programming.
Okay. Camp Raleigh, I think that's one. I'm not sure who the champion is of that at this point. I think it was Kelly Anderson before. So that's, maybe we can put a plea out to the community and try and bring somebody in who's passionate about keeping it going. Okay. It's not that I'm not passionate about keeping it going, but I think, her drive was really what was pushing us in that direction. So we got to find somebody to join our team here to keep that moving.
And I know Kelly pretty good, so I can talk to her too. I think she still wants involvement, right? She just doesn't want the lead role.
Yeah, and that's what she said. She said she didn't want to, be the chair, but she'd keep helping out, as long as she could.
I think I'm concerned with Kelly about like how much, what can her role be for this season where her kids, she can't really commit to a schedule. So, I don't know if there's something that we can ask her to do outside of a meeting just to keep her involved while kids are busy, or if she's open to that, or is she going to be too busy that she just kind of wants to, have a season off and revisit life in the fall or something. So Paul, maybe reach out to her. You could have that conversation and find out if something like a way that she thinks she can still contribute while she's not really able to make meetings.
Yep, I can do that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
So we'll tentatively leave that one open. We'll pencil Kelly in until we can identify somebody else that would join the team and take that over. Winter sports programming. This is something that I actually really enjoyed working on the indoor soccer last year. So, unless somebody wants to jump in there, I'd be happy to continue with winter sports, starting to work on the schedule as far as what we can use for space in the gym and everything.
Nope, that sounds good.
Okay.
I think it would be helpful if somebody, and I'm thinking Lori because she has the school connection, but if somebody could reach out to Rich and find out, under what circumstances they might let us use the gym, or, are they not ready to make that decision? I'm sure they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do about school in the fall. So, they may not even really have an answer to that question, but, when might they have an answer to that question? Or, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there that we're really kind of at the mercy of the school and whether or not they even let us use the space.
Well,
Yeah.
I believe he would, there wouldn't be an issue using the space as long as the building is open. If the building is not open, then we can't use the space. And as far as the building being open or closed, that had been state mandated. That's why the building closed. So, I can ask Rich to keep us on his radar and let us know if he finds anything out. And I'll know as a staff member and Mike will know as school board. But there are no answers yet.
Yeah, I know.
I think what I'm going to do is I'll look at the calendar and just pick when we'd like to start and when we'd like to end. And then I'll pass that to you, Lori, and you can talk to Rich when we get a chance. I know he's doing a lot of work trying to figure out, what this thing looks like in the fall. It's no rush, obviously, no hurry. I just don't want to get to, October, November and then be asking for space in the school and, it's already gone. So at least he can pencil us in. And if he has to turn it off at the end because of COVID, well, I think everybody would understand that. But my fear is that we don't have programming set up and then, COVID does magically go away. And then we're scrambling to figure out what we can do. So I'd much rather have a plan in place and have to cancel than not have anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a great.
You might talk to Kelly Anderson about when she starts basketball, because she's done it in the past and she has a date that she knows that she starts open gyms.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I'll definitely reach out to her and see what she did in the past. All right. I think that covers the committee lead announcements, and just that'll be on there every time. So if you have anything that you want to add, that'll be kind of your plug to jump in there. Number 5 on the agenda is the financial update. I don't even know where to start with that one. So, and this is something that I was talking to Kelly about before, and why I volunteered to help as far as, our treasurer, whatever we want to call it, went before, because I didn't have a good handle on, what line items we actually had in the budget, how Camp Raleigh was funded, and how all that worked. So I think it's important that we continue to talk about, our budget each meeting that we have. just so that as we add new members, they understand how it works and really keep an eye on that programming. Is there anybody that wants to take the lead on that one as far as?
I'll take the lead on that one.
Okay. Great.
So, recreation has a bunch of lines. It has, an amount of money we've given to the Old Home Day Association for fireworks. But other than that, all the other lines are lines that this committee can weigh in on. The select board makes decisions about money. Everything has, this is an advisory group to the select board, and the money kind of follows that same thing. So, you all submit a budget for Camp Raleigh. And by the way, we're going to be heading into budget season within the next, 6 or 8 weeks or something. So just have that in the back of your mind. For items that were more or less budgeted for Camp Raleigh, things could get expended for their purposes according to the purchasing policy, which just means if it needed a purchase order, then it got a purchase order. But ultimately, the committee could, through one means or another, buy what it needed to make camp happen because that was budgeted. And then aside from that, there is money for winter programming and senior programming like that. I guess my message about all of financial stuff is that while there's no programming going on, there's money available because that money hasn't been spent yet. But because whatever you're going to propose to do hasn't been budgeted for because, it's Camp Raleigh money that you're going to use to do whatever, I think there is an opportunity to think of creative things to do and then ask the board if you can have a certain amount of money to do that. And I think they would be open to that. For example, if you want to spend $100 on scavenger hunt materials and put something out to the public that we're going to run a scavenger hunt, Camp Raleigh money was offset by registrations. So it's not the same to pay for something that doesn't have the return of tuition and registration money, but not everything did have that return. For example, the team director doesn't have that same return. So there's still money in that budget that could potentially be used for programming, but because of what's going on and how you didn't really have an opportunity to budget for these extraordinary circumstances, I would just say, I think the board would be open to whatever it is you want to do and how much does it cost to do it. And don't think that money is really frozen necessarily. I wouldn't say that you have $30,000 to go throw a party, but I think if you want to do something, the board would be open to hearing about that and that you could spend the money. But in as much as something is budgeted, you have more flexibility with spending it. But when it's not budgeted, then you need to get permission from the board. If maybe that's the more simplistic way to think about it.
Yeah, no, that's great. That makes sense to me.
Yep.
Caroline, what happens to the money that's in the budget now that if we don't spend it? And do you know when we're supposed to go before the select board or the budget committee?
You don't need to go through to the budget committee. You just need to go to the select board. And I'm working on that schedule. It hasn't been published and the board hasn't finalized all that yet. So I would have August in your mind for that. And I can't give you a date yet, but just think about August. There was more that you said though.
What happens to the money if we don't spend it?
Oh, thank you. Okay. One of two things will happen. Generally, any money in the budget that doesn't get spent goes into the general fund, and it sort of poof vanishes. In other words, you can't spend it after December 31st. The budget expires and all that money, all that opportunity, so to speak, goes away. And what actually physically happens to the money is that it just stays in the general fund for use in another way at another time. So that's the default option. That's what happens to any budget money unless something happens. The something else could be how we've discussed before. In preparation for voting in March, we could, you all could talk to the select board about proposing a warrant article to create a fund for recreation and to put a certain amount of money in that fund as a result of money that's not spent this year. Although it doesn't even have to be as a result of money unspent, you know, it could just be money. There are a few ways to think about it. That is something that you could potentially do. So if you want to do that, I would urge you all to start thinking about that sooner rather than later. I don't know if the board would support that or not. There's a lot that goes along with that. And I think it's kind of tied to having the part-time year-round rec director in place so that there's somebody who's really in place to help, you know, oversee those funds and have a plan for them.
Did that answer all your questions, Celia?
Yes.
I still don't even know, you know, honestly, where to start with that, if we want to pursue that or not. So if we don't spend funds, though, at the end of the year, is it rolled back to the taxpayers in some form? And will it help reduce tax burden for the next year? Or?
It goes into the general fund, and money in the general fund can then be used in a variety of ways with special permission. So we could put on the warrant article to spend a certain amount of money for like let's build a park for $100,000, and we're going to pay for that with $100,000 of general fund money. You know, so you get authority through that warrant article to spend general fund money. So that's one way to spend that money. The most obvious use of that money is that the select board in November, when we get the tax rate from the state, the select board, that's a preliminary tax rate. And then the select board has discretion with that to take some money from the general fund to decrease the tax burden. But that's kind of a one-time gift because, you know, whatever you spend out of the general fund, then it's gone. So it's not there to offset the tax rate for the next year because you spent it this year doing that. So that's not a sustainable practice, but it might be something that could help when there's an anomaly going on and there's a need to do that. The other thing is if something catastrophic happened and there were a huge storm and a road washed out, we could, with permission from the state, use money in the general fund to make an emergency repair to the road, for example. But all of that require, you know, in any way that there's, you know, a specific authority to access that money. Otherwise, it just sits there. And there's a threshold of money that a community is supposed to have. The Department of Revenue recommends that it is between 8 and 17% of your previous year's budget. I think that's right. 8 or 17%, 8 to 17% of something. And I don't remember of what something is. That now I'm blanking on that one. The other thing to think about is you should be able to cover at least 6 months of your expenses with the money in the general fund. So people think of it as surplus or a slush fund, but we have to be careful about that because, you know, it's the only money that's there for whatever kind of emergency might happen.
Okay.
I know I've talked to Caroline in the past and we've talked about it as a committee before, like Mike and some of the other people were on this committee, there are a bunch of different funds that are related specifically to rec. And like if we're doing a building, we'd have to go through a warrant article or the CIP, like Caroline said. So I've got a PowerPoint started that I've never finished about the numerous different rec funds that we can look at if we choose to down the line.
Okay.
So really right now though, our only expense is for Camp Raleigh and then the limited funding for the senior program in the winter sports. Is that true?
That is historically for the last few years, most of the money has been spent on summer camp, and then Celia would get reimbursed for like coffee and small expenses related to seniors potentially. And then yes, for winter rec, possibly registrations or like tournament registrations or paying for a coach and things like that. But relatively small amounts of money compared to camp.
Okay. I think, Celia, if you're all right, you and I can sit down outside the meeting at some point and we can go through that and just start working on the budget so we can have something ready for our next meeting in July.
Okay.
We can, put it in front of everybody. So again, a week prior to the meeting, so you have adequate time to review it, hopefully.
Yep.
But yeah, Celia, I'll set something up with you because I think you probably have the most background on that one.
And Callie has helped in the past too, so she's a good resource.
Okay, great. It looks like Denise joined us there too.
Mhm.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, Denise.
All right. The next number 6 there, new business. I put on their goals for our next year here that we have. Anybody have any thoughts on that one as far as what we can put on paper so that we have something to drive towards? David, how about you? Nope. David.
I'm sorry, I had to take my phone off mute. There we go.
What do you think, David? What should our goal be? We need at least something to keep in mind as we're going through the next year here.
So I sent you everything that we had. I think basically we'd spent our energy. We kind of delegated who was going to do what, and then we spent our time defining what we thought the role of the director should be. But I'm happy to take on any assignment you want to put my way.
I think you raised a good point that, we did make a goal to get more organized. That's how we started with the job descriptions and really trying to figure out how that rec director, falls in there as well. So I think that could be definitely one of our goals, is our organization, our organizational structure and who's doing what. And not necessarily who's doing what, but what positions are doing what, so that we can, as people leave the committee and join the committee, we know where we need to plug people in. So well done, David. Appreciate that. And we'll figure out how to get that rec directors, put in there as well. So, we could recommend something to the select board as far as when to, hire that person or put that job out.
Now the select board did come up with their definition, I thought, and they presented that back to us. So do we need to go look at what the definitions of the other job, whatever us and the committee are going to be doing? Redefine those positions.
Yeah, I got that coming up here in a couple. Yeah, that's under old business we talked about last time. We'll go through that. So organizational structure, got that. I mean, obviously, I think one of our big goals is, continue Camp Raleigh. And I don't know how we word that or codify that, but that was what made me join the committee here, is because you sent out a plea saying, hey, this programming is in a desperate need and we might lose it for the town. And really, it's a huge impact this year with COVID not having it out there for people. And like you mentioned, Caroline, about the daycare and just how people are handling that. So anybody have any ideas of how we word that as far as Camp Raleigh goes? Successful programming for Camp Raleigh. Okay, I'll wordsmith it for you for next time.
I definitely want to see it come back. My kids miss it this year.
I know that the kids on my street are that the parents are missing it, as are the kids.
All right. Well, if you think of any other goals, just shoot me an email so that we can talk about it at our next meeting there. We already talked about our next one here, the committee recruiting. Denise, we talked about it a little bit before you joined us as far as ideas. We didn't get any volunteers. Thanks for shooting over that email. We're going to try and push it out as many ways as we can, as far as on Facebook, on the town website there. Also targeting individuals to speak with them to see if they would want to come join the team. Do we have any thoughts on that one?
Mike, in the beginning of the school year, there's a whole packet of information that gets sent home. If we had even just a half a sheet, talking about Camp Raleigh and the possibilities like your soccer or whatever open gym that may be going on, I'm sure Rich would let us put that in that packet of information that goes home.
That's a great idea, Lori.
And the plea for more members included in that.
I like it.
That's a fantastic opportunity for that, Lori. Yeah.
Anybody want to design that sheet? Any takers? Laura, I saw you smile. I think I don't know.
I can look at it and put some things together and go from there, but I don't want to do it on my own. I need somebody to proofread.
I'll work with you.
Or could you ask Allison to help you at the school?
Oh yeah, Allison. But the beginning of the school year is a very busy time for her. But she might be able to. I don't know what she's doing now with everything that's going on. But David said he would help, and Allison would definitely help, and we could come up with something.
Awesome. All right. I'll put you down for that then. Thank you. All right. Any other ideas on recruiting? Okay, we'll move into the old business here, unless somebody has anything else that we haven't talked about as far as new business.
Nope.
All right, old business. Kelly did not come up with a calendar. She said she was still working on that. So I titled The Road to Camp Raleigh there. I will work with her to start looking at a calendar and putting dates down, just so that we can see, exactly the timeline that we need to meet. So that one's going to be still open after this. The job descriptions. There you go, David. Job descriptions is next. Does everybody have a copy of that they can open up and just look at it as we go through it real quick?
Yes.
All right. I lost it in all my notes here. No, it's on here somewhere.
You must have the same upgrade I did.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, it's one of these. All right. Got it on here. Hold on one second. Okay.
If somebody wants to either give it to me or else somebody else probably has the ability to share their screen. And so I think any one of you or I, if I had it, could do that so we could all make sure we're looking at the same thing. I'm not sure which email that was in, or I could fish it out and find it.
Yeah, I can send it to you right now.
Okay.
I think. There it is.
I don't know how to share my screen, but I have it up, so I keep switching back and forth.
4-2. Calendar, Kindle. All right. I just email it to you, Caroline. It's got a bunch of documents on there, but it's the
Got it. Okay.
second
So
one down.
the job descriptions, is that what I,
Yeah.
It's Part-time rec director and Camp Raleigh director, I think. It's two of them anyway.
Yeah, that's the one. Look at that. So right up the top there is Facebook and the town webpage. Kelly Anderson originally said she would do that.
I'm gonna see. If
Anybody else interested in jumping on that to help her out? And Denise was originally on there to help with the town part of that. So Paul, would you be willing to help us out on that front?
Sure.
Just any coordination we need to do as far as the webpage goes.
So am I adding? So am I deleting Denise and adding Paul?
Yeah. Oh wow, look at this real-time updates. Great.
Okay.
And we'll just leave Kelly on there until she tells us she can't do it. We'll see where she is with that one.
I'll talk to you about that.
All right. Thank you. Registration coordinator. I think, I can stay on there. Celia, if you want to stay on there as well.
Yep.
I don't see any reason to change those two.
I had a question though. Ensure Caroline receives payments. Is it still going to Caroline or is it going to Chuck? Or does it matter?
If we're just talking about registrations, let's how about we do that?
Thank you.
The town office.
Yeah, the town. Because I'm not sure what the answer to that is yet.
Okay. Next one is the marketing initiatives and marketing materials. Laura, are you still good leading us on that one?
I can try.
All right. Sounds great.
As long as David's going to do the editing, because I can't spell.
That leads us right into the next one. Editor-in-chief, David. You still willing to help us with that?
I'll keep working there.
All right. We talked about, I don't know if we need to call it CFO or treasurer or what we want to call that officially. Is there any recommendation from the town what we call our budget person, Caroline?
I think not the treasurer would be good, just because it creates confusion between what would have been a treasurer, which we would take more issue with. Because once upon a time, Recreation had its own bank account, and it did have an actual treasurer who spent money directly from the account, and that was of grave concern to the auditor, who delighted when that account closed finally after a while of working on that. So budget coordinator, maybe.
Great. I like the sounds of that. Okay. Anybody else want to take that from me? I see Celia shaking her head. Come on. All right. I'll keep working on that one. Like I said, I'm going to need some help in that front. All right. Documents and forms. Celia, you got the lead on that one. I think you've been doing a lot of that anyway. Do you have any concerns with that one?
No, it's just going to be reviewing them and updating them. And maybe that's something we put on our goals list is to continue to update forms.
Got it. All right. Staffing hiring coordinator was Kelly. Any thoughts on that one?
I'm wondering if this wouldn't be one that we would put, that we would hope we would have a part-time rec director in place for, and that the rec director would do some of this. I think it's fine to have a committee member in there too, but I think the rec director might play a role here.
I've applied for 3 or 4 positions, and there's always been a select board member that has sat in on the interviews because they are the hiring authority. So that might be a good place for a select board member too.
What do you think, Paul? Is Paul still with us? All right, sign Paul up then. Perfect. We can leave. I guess we'll leave Kelly on there for now. If we just want to put in part-time or rec director. Great. And then we'll work on this, as far as finalizing it on the next go around in case anybody has any thoughts afterwards.
Okay.
T-shirts, community support, and campers. Wow.
I have a couple of edits on this one. Under the second bullet point, we need to take out the word Kristen and put in graphic designer or printing company, because we may not be working with the same people. And I don't know if we want to put in parentheses Seacoast Printing, as they already have our template and stuff set up, so that we don't get charged a setup fee. And then if the committee members change, that they know where to go.
Great idea.
Maybe we'll just do that. What if we just do this?
Okay.
Then you want to leave ensure Caroline receives funds or ensure town office receives funds frequently?
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Which fund? What funds are we talking about?
T-shirt funds. These would
Or in
be
t-shirts.
people buying extra shirts, community members buying shirts that are different than the Camp Raleigh shirts. If somebody comes in partway through the summer and said they lost their shirt, they're buying a new one.
All right. Makes sense to me. Laura, you still good helping out as a second on that one?
Sure.
Thank you. All right. Sponsorship and donations. That was Kelly Beck. I know she was working with you, Celia, heavily on that one. Anybody interested in replacing her on that front? Let's see. Sponsorship letter creation, vinyl signs for sponsors.
Maybe we just call that out as something we need a volunteer to handle. And that might be a good thing to say when you put a plea out that, there are a variety of things we need help with, but you can say, this is one of the things we need help with.
And I'm not willing to do it anymore, but I'm willing to share my information in the places we've been to in the past and the vendors we've used.
Okay, I think we have a little bit of time on this one. We don't want to leave it vacant for too long, but as long as we're hitting this, I'd say early fall, I think we'll be all right.
Caroline, do you want to take your name out of that one too?
Thank you.
Community talent and demo coordinator, rec director. Like it.
Okay.
Anybody have any edits on that one?
Caroline, your name's in the bottom bullet too.
Thank
I
you.
replace Caroline on all of these.
For can I do this? Because you're not, yeah. Because I'm not sure I'm giving you funds, I'm just giving you information about how to get funds. If you're going to hire someone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. What else we got on there?
That looks like the end. Nope.
Oh, if only. Rec director, and then Celia, you were going to help with that temporarily. Still okay helping until we get the rec director spun up?
We need to take off the second bullet point, because those were specific to a certain year. So that needs to come right out, and maybe replace it with grant funding. How do we use that?
And your name's on there again, Caroline.
Mhm.
And Lester needs to come out too in the next line.
Yeah, I don't know who Lester is.
He was our our budget person a couple of years ago. I don't even know if we need that.
It's all right. You can just get rid of it then.
All right.
You might want to be on there, Mike, to find out where the money's going if you're keeping track of it all.
Where? What? No. In there?
Lester was on there because he was our financial officer. If you're the financial guy, you should be on there.
Fine. The budget coordinator, not the financial officer. Budget coordinator. Jeez.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Next one is the sport inventory coordinator. So we'll leave that up to the rec director, and Kelly can stay on there. Makes sense to me for now. Oh,
Caroline, you're on the last bullet again.
all right. Transportation coordinator. Yeah, I guess I can stay on there. And we'll work with the rec director to get him spun up.
Right.
Work with the town office to ensure. Oh, the bookkeeper.
Yes, we're going to give that one to the bookkeeper.
Like it.
Yes. All right. This is good.
Is that the last page? It's got to be. Ah, there's another one. Staff orientation training coordinator. All right. I guess that would be Paul and Caroline now.
Yeah, I think so. That'd be fun.
Can we just take out the name and put town officials? Because the select board will be changing. That's fine.
Okay.
We're gonna have to update this every year anyway with our names and as people are added to the committee. So
In case it's ever not me. If we're going for longevity.
we're gonna have to take Caroline's name out of all these documents then. Jeez. All right, RGS facility coordinator. Laura, you still okay helping the rec director with that one?
Sure.
Okay.
And that looks like it? No.
There's one more. Tuition assistance.
So I just want to remind people about a conversation here that we haven't had in a very long time, and I'm not sure that all of you are around for the conversation when we had it years ago. But the thing about tuition assistance is a really we have to be careful about this. It's something we really ought to have a policy about. Who qualifies? People who are reduced lunch, or people who are at 1.3% of the poverty line, or what is our process and who qualifies? And, and we haven't had that, but it's worked out okay because we haven't had a whole lot of people apply for it, but there isn't really any criteria that we can use to judge whether or not people are really need of any kind of tuition assistance objectively. So the problem becomes you can get scrutinized for liking people or not liking people, or giving people assistance or not giving people of assistance for non-objective reasons, and that's dangerous. So the reason that I was listed under this is because I manage welfare assistance for the town. So, you know, I can kind of use those guidelines to sort of judge, but it's not black and white. So it would be helpful if somebody could look into how other communities handle people who request assistance from for tuition for various programs, so that we can try to get some kind of policy around what are people's circumstances that qualify them for assistance. What is the process that you evaluate them?
I don't believe you would get information on the free or reduced lunch program because we are not even.
Yeah, it's all protected. So
Yeah, you know.
right. I mean, well, I just mean, like, if they wanted to, the reason I said that is because an individual could provide that information. Not that I would expect the school to provide it. Absolutely not. So we could use those same criteria that the free and reduced lunch program uses. But thank you, Lori. You're quite right that I know that, and we can't just use that list. Yes.
Caroline,
Yes.
I think we also should add that it's a Rollinsford resident for this versus an outside community.
Is everybody okay with that addition there?
Yeah, I was
Yes.
gonna suggest the same thing. That's a good
Okay.
point. Denise.
Thank you, Denise. Yeah.
We did years ago, probably 3-4 years ago, 2017, 2018, vote on it as a committee, but the committee has changed since then. So it's on the drive what our motion was. And I don't know if we should go back and review that policy, that recommendation from back then, and revise it.
Celia, do you think you can dig that up? If you can find that motion and send it to me, I'll work on, you know, trying to figure out what we can use for that policy.
Thank you, Mike. And
Yeah.
Celia. Yeah.
All right, is that the last one?
Okay.
Oh, miscellaneous camp needs. Celia, look at you.
For right now, I'll stay, but it may change come fall or spring of next year, depending on where I'm going to be.
Yeah, and I think that would be the rec director really would take that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I put rec director, because I think the board has a lot of, you know,
That would be fine.
yeah, one of the goals around money is to keep all of the control of the money in employee management.
I like that. That's good.
And then I don't have to be on call all summer.
That's true.
How about that? Okay. So,
I appreciate everybody's patience just working through that as far as the job descriptions go. One thing that one of my goals moving forward for this year is that we aren't editing documents in our meetings. I think we all remember when we got stuck on, what was it, page 8 for like 2 hours? I don't know. So really going forward, like I said, I'd like to get everything out to people a week in advance. So we take our best shot at that. And then if there were any edits that were necessary, you know, get them out ahead of time so that we had more of a finished product for everybody when we were at the meeting. Because I do understand, you know, I appreciate everybody's time, and I don't want to.
I have one thing I want you to add. Where the marketing initiatives, marketing materials, my name is there. I think the camp director should be there as well, because the Facebook page in the past has been run by the camp director has been the one who's had the pictures and the releases for pictures and stuff that were posted on that page, and I wouldn't have any access to that. or be there to take pictures. So I think that would be something that the rec director would have more information for. I don't mind helping out, but I think that they would have more of that information than I would have.
I think that's a valid point.
So I missed the beginning of what you said, Lori. Am I going back to that Word document?
Yeah, where it said marketing initiatives and marketing materials.
Okay, that was
Just-
you.
Yeah, and just add the rec director.
Okay.
Should it be rec director or camp director?
I don't know, whatever that
I
thing
think
is.
for a rec director,
Okay.
because we have them, for the whole year. And it's not that we can't make edits in the meetings. It's just fewer edits.
It's time.
Yeah, instead of going line by line. So I do appreciate everybody doing that just now, so we could kind of look at the job descriptions. And like I said, I'll try to have more finalized products out to everybody for the next one.
So I'm going to send this to you, Mike, so that you can, you want to keep track of all the documents so that they all go out at once. Is that the right thing to do?
Yeah, if you could, that'd
All
be
right.
great. Thank you. All right, the next topic is the draft manuals for Camp Raleigh. I don't want to go line by line on that. I don't really want to look at them today. Celia and David, you guys were supposed to dig up really what was the most current that we had, where we ended up with that.
I just dug it out today, so I'm going to send it to David tonight or tomorrow, and we'll set up a meeting time and hopefully be able to bring it to the board by the next meeting, the committee.
Yeah, that'd be great if you if you could just get it to me a week in advance so that everybody has a little time to review. And I'd like to look at it and see if anybody has any big things, and then we can push it back out. And then the meeting after that, hopefully we'll be able to approve them. So, we're talking August, having those things finalized. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have something, David?
No, I'm good with that.
Great. Thank you. All right. After that, the historical scavenger hunt. Really excited to see what you sent out there earlier, Lori. I'm trying to figure out where all those places are already.
Well, it's funny because the one I found on the Wave, the Wednesday Wave, I had no idea that even existed. And one, I kind of knew it was there, but I didn't know all of the details on it until I made my son drive me around, take pictures today, because I do everything late. So there is definitely room for improvement and additions. I do want to talk to a couple of people who have old pictures of Rollinsford that we can put on and say, do you know where this is or where this was? I think that would be interesting too. The end of the school year was just very busy for me, and I just did not get those emails out. But yeah.
So I did quickly look over it and had a couple of things I wanted to ask you about. My husband did a bunch of research on the Pear Yard School and found some information online about when it transferred from town property to to private hands.
He
So
was
I didn't
the
know-
other person to contact.
So I didn't know if you wanted to make that as a at-home project, like research the history of a school or something like that.
Yes.
And then he wanted to, I had him look at it before the meeting.
Oh, good.
He wanted to know if you're going to put a picture of the town Civil War monument up there.
Yes, we were planning out the map and we passed it. And I was like, oh, I'll go back at the end and get that. And then I forgot. So yeah, absolutely.
And
go ahead, Celia.
on the monument to honor the dead who served in various wars.
Yeah.
if you look at it, you will notice that it has the start date for the Iraqi war and no finish date.
Yeah, and no end date.
Yeah,
I did see that.
he is adamant as a member of the historical committee that we need to get that updated for the community. So that's one of his projects, hopefully in the future.
Okay.
I thought it was, I just thought it was a great start, Lori. And really what I wanted to ask the committee is, how do you foresee that we can roll this out?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I had been thinking about various ways of doing it. I don't even know, but I'm pretty sure that Google Slides can be printed, and so that the print copy could be somewhere as well as going online. I also didn't envision there being like a start date or an end date. I mean, there certainly could be. I just thought this was something that families or people could do if they wanted to, but that's entirely up to the committee if you wanted to do something like that. I thought it was just going out there as something people could do without being in large groups. And
No, I think it's great.
Somebody had suggested to the historical committee that during remote learning, families go into the cemetery and pick a name or a gravestone and research that person who might have lived in Rollinsford or been influential in Rollinsford. And then they could post a poster or a sign on a certain day, and people could tour through the cemetery for a couple of days and just read about the information.
well, and I also thought about having, like, if somebody could find the oldest monument grave in the cemetery, but I have no idea what that is. And I also wanted to put on Oboe's grave, but I don't want to do that until the school's open, because I don't know how many people know that there's a dog's grave on the school property. So
The oldest tombstone I know of in Old Town Cemetery is 1775.
oh,
I'm sure there's probably possibly older, but I know there's one from 1775.
yeah. And I know Celia's husband had given me a slide presentation that he had done for the Civil War, Rollinsford in the Civil War, that I used in school one year, but I haven't gone back through my stuff to find that. And the other thing is, having permission to use pictures and stuff these pictures I just took today, but
Yeah.
it is difficult to find Rollinsford things online. They're not real easy to find.
Like that.
So a lot of it is just people who have, postcards or pictures that are old, and would be willing to share the image. I don't know.
You might also talk to Sarah at the library. And
Okay.
One of her reading programs one year was about the history of Rollinsford.
Okay.
And if you want to talk about gravestones, you might tap my husband too, because he's
Exactly.
on.
The other thing, Lori, is you might talk to Chris Reichus, because I know that she, for a few years in a row at least, she used to do a project with the kids in her class about like historic buildings in Rollinsford. So she might have some ideas, or she might be a resource.
I was going to also contact Julia Roberts, because she was the one who our class did like a tour of the village, and she had pictures. I don't know if she has them in a print media that she could just send them to me, electronically, and if she'd be willing to, because like there was some very interesting pictures of like a storage building that was across from the mills, next to the building where the barber shop is,
Yeah.
or
I remember
next to
that
the
one.
next building, that just fell down. That's how it was taken care of. But so like she had pictures like that don't exist, or older churches that were in town. I just haven't had a chance to contact her. So
There's also a Facebook page called Rollinsford, New Hampshire, and I think it's Peter Machad. And he puts on pictures too. So
Yeah.
you might check there if you're on Facebook.
Well, I think a good goal for us maybe would be to try and push this out to the public in August. So summer's not quite over yet. Give them something to do when they're trying to figure out something fun to do around town, and maybe have part of it where it's a walking tour. Where they can just park down down by the mills and walk around down there, and maybe an expanded version. You got to give them the answer key at some point. I mean, or else they're just going to wander all over town looking for everything. I don't know.
Well, when I was thinking of these pictures, I'm like, I can't just go take a picture because everybody will know where it is. So it's like, okay, I can get closer. But then they can't see the post office behind it, or I don't know. But the one that was I can't even remember the person's name, but that one was over by Sligo and Pinch Hill. That's the one I had never seen until we were doing the wave. I'd never even heard of that, even through all the stuff we've done in school. I've never heard of that man.
Well, I'm anxious just to learn about the town through this. So, whenever you get it finished, I'll be out there searching for all these things.
Okay. Well, that's
All
what I said. Like I could say, I was talking to my son about it, and I said, I could say things like, do you know there's a hydro plant? But, like, where else would it be than on the river? Like that just, I don't know. But
Well, a couple years ago, the State House talked about putting a picture of Jessie Doe.
I know.
But I don't know if it ever
should be
happened.
there.
I don't know.
But there should be a marker for her somewhere. But anyway.
So you just gave me an idea, Lori, talking about, did you know there's a hydro plant in town? Maybe through this platform, because this is the platform we have, or maybe not. Maybe it's like some kind of mail-in experience or something. Maybe there's a way to have a trivia game.
I don't know.
I don't either, but I think there could be a way to have like a really creative, like a very strange, different format of some kind of trivia game. And maybe that's something that can go on over a number of weeks. And maybe, the person who gets the most right, might, I don't know, get some kind of recognition, or maybe there's a small prize, or I don't know what, but, history's one thing, but people like trivia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I wonder if we could do it on our Facebook page that Kelly created for the rec. Put it out there to community members.
Or it would be interesting if it happened, provided we're in school, in the fall, and have one of the 5-6 classes be the one that tallies information and it, has that for the rec committee, but has to do that, like, I don't know, coordination of the parts. So
well, not only the coordination of the parts, but if you're going to talk about school, it would be really kind of, we're getting in the weeds here, but it would be fun for like a school project to figure out, like, statistically, how, like, what percentage of people got which questions right, so that you can kind of decide which questions were easier, or, maybe collect a little bit of demographic information so you can make a project about knowing that younger people knew more about something than older people knew more about something else, or I don't know, but make it some kind of data project. I don't know. That's in the weeds. But I just thought, I like the idea of rec being able to do something that can still be done right now, safely. And trivia might be, I would just encourage you to keep thinking about other ways to engage people and keep them busy and have something fun to do. And trivia might be that, something like that. But there's, I'm sure there's other ideas out there too.
So I've also been thinking since our last meeting about different things I'm doing with my kids to keep them busy and happy over the summer. And I'm wondering if there's a way or format to get that out there. Like the other day, we did the Coke and Mementos experiment in our backyard. And I wonder if, like, we could put on some way get out to the community different activities that they could do, maybe on a weekly or monthly basis. Here's a calendar of different things to try since we're stuck at home.
We could just use our Facebook page and start posting ideas, and we could send a message out to the town, just, hey, check out the rec page for, updates on, things to do, activities with the family. That means we'd have to update our page though, and keep it moving.
And monitor it and stay, and do stuff with it. Yeah.
And that's Kelly, and I don't know if she's up for that right now.
Yeah. So maybe collect some ideas, and then, in July, really figure out how we go live with something as far as our webpage, Facebook page goes. What were you gonna say, David?
We were taking the local kids in our street. I guess with being out of school and having a little free time, they were breaking all their bikes and razor scooters. So we were having little classes, safely distancing classes on fixing the bikes and fixing the little razor scooters. And Lori, I've got some software for editing stuff. So if you want to send me pictures of a monument, I can cut all the background out of it. Just have the little monuments.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think we have a good start on that, and we'll try to get some more updates before July. It's a good topic though. Everyone seems to enjoy this project, so it's good. I saw a lot of smiles on this one instead of when we were going through the manuals and everyone just wanted to throw the chairs on the ground. But I think it's great because, one of the things the feedback that I got with the indoor soccer was we had a huge turnout because it was something that was free to the community. So they didn't have to pay a fee to come through the door. And I think that's something, that this committee can really do for the community is try and find interesting ways to keep people interested in our town. If we can keep costs down, folks out there, I think it really helps. So, thank you all for your efforts in that regard. All right. I think that's it for our old business. So more to follow on that one. I did have on there future meeting dates. I just threw out stuff in the middle of the month there, so I don't know if there's any conflict with the select board or Caroline with your schedule. Did anybody? I was hoping to look, a couple months out on these instead of just sitting there trying to plan the next month, just so we had it on our calendars. Does anybody have any issues with the date in July?
Mike, could you just remind me what date in July you picked?
July 15th. I picked Wednesdays. I'm not sure if that's what people were leaning towards.
So just as a discussion point about Wednesdays, the Rollinsford Water Sewer District tends to do Wednesdays right now. That may change after the annual meeting, if the annual meeting happens, if there's a change in who's on there. But they don't typically plan those out in advance. So they happen sporadically, and that might interfere with my ability to attend these meetings. Not that you can't carry on without me by all means, but I'm just putting that out there. And then Budget Committee tends to meet on Wednesdays. So the 15th, probably more likely it'll be the 22nd that the Budget Committee is going to meet in July. So it's not a problem for now, but when it gets to be in the fall gets to be a busier meeting schedule. And then we might have to, at that point, rethink Wednesdays, depending on what's going on and, just depending on what's going on. But I think Wednesdays, if it works for everybody else, is certainly fine for now. And the 15th looks good to me.
How does everybody else feel about Wednesdays? I mean, I just picked Wednesdays because that's what we're doing. I can do Thursdays. I mean, Tuesdays. Any thoughts from anybody else?
You can't do all Thursdays.
No, I do have those marked in my calendar. I have the school board meetings on there.
I am good on Wednesdays for right now.
Same with me for the summer.
The summer dates.
Well, we'll shoot for Wednesday, the 15th then of July.
August, I may join in from out of state, but that's okay. When do we plan on going back to in-person meetings? Do we have any thoughts on that?
That was going to be my next topic here. I was going to ask for if there's any, direction from the town as far as what you're looking at.
There's not direction at this time, because the problem is that as soon as it's not just about the committee. It's not just about how many people. If there are 5 of you, we could probably work it out that we could fit 5 people in the conference room. The bigger concern is that when you have in-person meetings, you can't control or predict how many people in the public come, and then you have to accommodate that. So, as long as we're virtual, then anybody and everybody can attend, and we don't really have to worry about things. So the select board is currently working on a reopening plan. I'm meeting with the police chief and health officer next week, and we're starting to talk about things, and we're thinking about town hall opening for business purposes and how that's going to happen, and when that's going to happen. But there's a lot to think about. I guess I would say let's plan on holding them virtually, but at some point, if when the board decides that we can accommodate people in person, then we'll do that in person. Opening the office to the public is different from meetings, because again, with the meetings, some groups attract more people than others, but we have to be able to assure that we can keep people at least 6 apart. And so all I can say is we're not there yet, but we're evaluating it and working on it. So if we can
Can we
plan.
meet on the second floor?
I'm sorry, David, what?
Can we meet on the second floor in that auditorium on the second floor?
Wouldn't that be fantastic? I would love that, but no, sorry.
We do typically have pretty big turnouts for these meetings.
I know.
So I don't know where we'd sit everybody.
I've got a bus lined up.
No, I think we'll at least press forward with July as a virtual. I think this went all right. I mean, does anyone have any major issues with how we're doing this, or?
No, I just have to share the computer with my wife.
And I do miss seeing David's face. That is one thing I will say. It's just,
It's major monitor, believe me.
I wonder if there's an option where, if the town's even considering, the committees are there in person, and it's broadcast maybe on a forum like this, where people could dial in and ask questions that way if they wanted to, or email in questions.
Well, so I get, so that decision is going to rest with the select board, and I think that could be considered. The problem with that is that when you have more than one device hooked up in close proximity, you get feedback loops. So the experience for the public who's not in person is that they're really not going to be able to see everybody, because you can't, all 5 of you, have devices in the conference room, because you're going to get feedback loops, and it just won't work. So so you can see one person or 2 people and hear everybody else, but I don't think that's allowed.
So I wonder if there's would this potentially fall under the CARES Act funding for town business to get a video teleconference, a machine that would allow you to do that, to buy the software to have that as a program where you can actually set up your conference room with the camera and everything. I don't know, potentially an option.
I'm not, I guess I would ask you, what are you trying to accomplish that can't happen this way? Because we have to justify, if if it's to accomplish something that we can't otherwise do, then possibly. But just to have the novelty of having people together because we miss seeing and being with people, probably not. So I guess the question is, what kind of functionality that would that provide that we can't do this way?
I think this meeting went very well, but I've been in others where, a member has a technology issue and now they drop offline, so if my internet goes down right now, I'm completely out of the loop. That's my only concern is if you were able to set up the conference room in town hall with a TV and a video camera, and then if you would have all the people in front of you on there, and if somebody has something to say, then they would pop up and you could acknowledge them and they could ask their question. But the rest of the time, it would just be a wide panel view of, the select board or whoever is in attendance at that meeting. It's just a thought. I think you're absolutely right. This is a great form, and I think this is a way that we can do it. My fear is, again, with the technology piece for that moving forward.
So, so this is where we're out of my bailiwick with technology. It's an interesting idea. I don't know how that would work. So I don't know how to spec it out. So we have a camera that we can use to record meetings as they happen, but that camera isn't interactive. It's just records, and that's all it does. So we can't live stream that camera footage, in other words. So I'm not sure how, kind of what platform is hosting what kind of video feed. How do you hook up what kind of camera to what kind of platform? So if I have more information about that so that I can price that out, then that's at least a conversation point, because if we are, maybe stuck in this meeting platform for a while because of the problems that I described. And if it is going to provide some functionality problems, then there may be a reason where that becomes justifiable. But like I said, I don't know how to spec that out. I don't know what that is and how to make it work. So I don't know if you know anything about that, or if you know people who can help figure that out.
Yeah, I can ask some questions.
It has to become, the other thing about that is I don't think it eliminates this. It might happen in conjunction with this, but we need to make sure that meetings remain interactive for the public. That if the public wants to interject, not that they get to interject, but if it's a meeting that typically allows for public comment, we need to continue to have that function, that people can at the same meeting comment on what they're watching now. So, again, I don't know how that technology works, but, especially where we're heading into busy meeting season where this functionality is really going to get tested. There are different platforms, and I'm not going to promise that the board's going to do anything with this idea, but if we can prove that there's a need because we're using it more and maybe more people are participating at a time, if it becomes a problem, then it starts with what's the cost.
Yeah, I can do some research and see if, what I can figure out for you. But I think, like I said, this meeting went very well. Being in person, it's just much more efficient, and we're able to just communicate more effectively as well. Although I can tell every time Lori's happy with something because she smiles. So this is easier, see, there she goes.
But I had to keep my microphone off so that when my dog starts barking, you don't all have to hear that as well.
Yeah, and I'm not pushing for either way here. You have something to add there, Celia?
I had a quick question. I know through watching a couple of the meetings, the select board and the school board, they have to make an announcement at the beginning about COVID-19 and people being able to submit comments. Was that made for this meeting? And does it need to be in the meeting minutes?
We missed that, and yes, it needs to be in the meeting minutes. And thank you for saying so. I already had in mind to send you, Michael, an email about that. But there is something that should be read at the beginning of every meeting that explains that according to the governor's executive order number 12, we are allowed to meet virtually. So we're meeting via Google Meets, and this is what the link is, and this is what the phone number is. And if you have any problems, this is the phone number you call. And all of the votes are by roll call. So I own that one that, I don't think Mike was ever told that. So that's perfectly fine. And our last meeting was a select board meeting, and they have a handle on that. So I apologize for that, and we should get with that. So yes, I'll get that to you, Mike, and thank you, Celia.
And does that information go out in the announcement when we post it to the public as well?
The link and the phone number go out in the posting. So also, just so you know, if you have trouble, or just so you know for yourselves and in future, I try to send reminder links out to committee people before, like the day of their meeting, because I know that your invitation gets lost in your inbox from weeks ago, potentially. But if you're ever stuck and you're not sure how to get into a meeting that is happening, you can go to the town website and look at the public calendar and click on the meeting, and the link is right there. So if you click on the meeting will expand and look like that invitation, and it'll give you the phone number and the link right there. So you can always join that way. But yes, that the link and the phone number are provided in the posting when we do them now.
So Caroline, if you weren't here with us, who would be controlling this meeting?
Well, that's a really good question, and that's one of the reasons. Well, I'm not controlling. Let me first say I'm not controlling this meeting. You, sir, are the chairman. So
I'm controlling the technology of this meeting. I'm sorry for my phrase.
All right. So the thing about these meetings is that they need to be recorded by somebody who has a Rollinsford email address. So now that we have, there is an ex officio. So if Paul feels comfortable with doing that and I can't come, then I would, I'll talk to Paul ahead of time and make sure, Paul, that you feel comfortable with that. And if not, we'll make other arrangements. But I believe you have to have a Rollinsford email address to press record. So that's, I want to always be here for support to make sure you guys are getting what you need and I can answer questions. But I am currently creating all of the meetings on the calendar and sending invitations out and making sure the postings are done. And as much as I can, I attend all the meetings anyway, typically. So it's not really any additional thing for me to be the one to press record.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no problem doing that, Caroline.
All right, great. Thank you, Paul.
If we had done this meeting in person, would somebody have been recording it, and then later that recording would have been posted on one of the Facebook channels possibly? Or how was that different than what we're doing now?
Because we're meeting via a Google platform, these meetings, when they're recorded, the recording is automatically generated, and I get an email about that within a very few minutes after the meeting closes. And I am just moving the meeting into a folder on the website of virtual meeting videos. So this, in terms of recording meetings, this is working much better than what we were doing before with in-person meetings. So now you go on that website and, typically meetings are at night, but in the morning, by the morning, you can go and watch the video through the website. The way we were recording meetings before in person is that the recording secretary of each group would be in charge of the camera and record the meeting. But that wasn't true of this group because it's an entirely volunteer group. So, that becomes more complicated with access to the camera and what do you do with it after, and making sure it happens. It was, there's accountability with employees. And so it was really more just those groups that have employees taking minutes. Those employees would manage the camera, get the camera, record, put the camera away, take the card, the memory card out, and put it in an envelope and label it for the person who would then process it and put it on the libraries. They went on the library's website. They have a YouTube page that they manage. So it wasn't Facebook. It went on a YouTube page that the library manages, because they were the ones who were uploading the videos for us. So, it was a lot more cumbersome in managing the camera and then managing the recording, and then somebody had to upload it. So that is one of the great benefits of this system, is that it happens with very little effort within a matter of minutes, rather than many hands doing multiple little things.
No, I just think it runs a lot smoother. I was impressed. Thank you.
All right. So July 15th is our next meeting, and we'll do that over the same forum here. We'll try and shoot for August 19th and September 16th as well. If those need to be changed, please let me know. And other than that, I haven't received any emails from visitors that they want to comment on our meeting. A little disappointed. Maybe we'll get a comment next time.
So,
Anybody have anything before we part ways here?
I just want to say, Mike, thanks for running the meeting and doing a good job at it.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
Well,
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
oh, there we go. This perfect. David, motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second by anybody?
I'll second.
Oh, thanks, Paul. We'll do a roll call vote real quick. Paul,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Celia,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
All right, and I say yes as well. So we got our motion to adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for your time tonight, and we'll see you in about a month.
Good night.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.